Buenos dias, everyone. I hope everybody's doing well, blessed, and enjoying family. As always, muchas gracias to everyone for everyone's words, wishes, prayers, as the love and support everyone shares and sends my way. From the heart, I appreciate every one of you. Also, do please like, share, subscribe, and hype to this video to help support the message. Thank you. Well, everyone, today is gonna circle around basically when the shoes were up, how camaradas used to take on responsibilities at times that they weren't really aware of the goings and comings, and also on how Pilis gave them the responsibilities without the proper clecha, right? But anyways, it's gonna circle around the homie Smokey from Clover and Chato, the senor, right? And for this, I want to take you back to Ironwood. You know, in Ironwood, there was a lot of homies from the east side. I stated it before, right? From East Los. And amongst these homies, there's a camarada, cartoon from Clovers that I had been in a couple of riots with up north. And he was a real good individual, right? He was younger, but he was cool individual. Nevertheless, within time, a homie got there, right? Smokey from Clovers, and everything was feeding with him. His paperwork, the times he's been in the shoe, everything was cool with him. He was on paper good, right? So, anyways, about a month being there, cartoon starts telling me, right? Like I had met the camarada, like I always made sure I went and present myself to all the homies. At the end of the day, we're all camaradas, right? But like a month later, Cartoon came with the homie, supposedly to introduce him to me, right? So, me personally, I like being in the shadows. Cartoon knew of me because, again, we had some history, right? Of me having the yard. But, anyways, I took it as Cartoon knows best, right? So, anyways, we sat down right outside 4 block and we start talking. And basically, the homie had palabra on on hitting, right, for Chato from Maravilla. And basically, he had a willow or an appeal stating if I could assist him with, or I could assist basically Chato by allowing the camarada to move some material, right? And usually, like I mentioned before, every camarada, once they hit, I would tell him, hey, just gotta give respect to Terco, right? Well, here it was a little bit different, because Chato was requesting to give him the permission, and Homeboy didn't have to do anything, like give Terco anything. And, I want to come in bad terms with Chato, but at the moment I told Cartoon and that individual, right, Smokey, that, hey, this yard belongs to Terco, and there's no way around it, right? I have no problem with camaradas doing their thing for themselves, or for a member, but at the end of the day, what gets moved on this yard, Terco has to receive some type of respect for doing it on this yard, you know? And I've never been that one that, hey, how much you hitting? So much, okay, I want a third. That's going out for Terco. Or I was never like that, right? I was never checking people's pockets or goings or comings, you know. It was just that. Whatever you want to show Terco respect with, that's firmes. Terco, to be sincere, never really asked me to be checking on how much people were hating and stuff like that. We always received it welcomely, you know. So, anyways, I told him, and even though Chato didn't want it like that, they were in agreement, right? And I told him, and this will go well for you too, homie. You know, for example, you dismiss Terco and you start doing things, the wrong way to be sincere, and things eventually are gonna hit the fans. For example, you get caught up in anything, I can't allow nobody to assist you. You're on your own. Nevertheless, you're showing Terco respects, then they gotta get right. Anyways, the homie would agree, right? That every time he hit, he would show his respect. And he kept his word. Again, I wasn't the one that's like, oh, look, that individual's going to visit, he's going to hit. Or, nah, I left that to the bloqueros. They seen and the homies, maybe because they were being treated right, they were being sincere, and honest with whenever they were hit, they would come and pay their respects. And anyways, getting back to cartoon, right? Every time he hit, for some reason, I seen envy or I seen some type of conflict amongst the homies from East Los, and I don't understand why, right? But again, it was none of my business. You know, there was already a representative there from East Los that if it was something big, he would come and address it, right? Other than that, you know, that's how you get caught up with IGI, right? Trying to be in everybody's business. You gotta allow the homies to do their thing, right? Trust is something you don't really see no more. And again, I was nobody. I was just simply a camarada, and I would show respect the way I think it was correct. But I seen it every time, and I knew he hit for the reason that he would come, right? And since Cartoon introduced him to me, he would tell me like, "Hey, here's this for T. Could you make sure it gets to him? Our respect." And if you see movement, it's because I got a little something. And I said, "Okay, firmes." And that was that. But we go back to what I said. This was circle around. You see, I didn't know the homie Smokey. On paper, he had done a couple shoe turns, for pegadas and things like that. And, all in between, you can't really know everything about a camarada. and I read down a appeal that came from Chato, and Chato was speaking up for him, especially when a Pili speaks up for you with that much confidence, that, hey, he don't even gotta show respect to the individual on the yard and stuff like that. It's cause common sense, at least I took it as they have some history together, right? So, anyways, time would pass, and then, you know, I would eventually start seeing it and seeing it and seeing it, and then it just got the best of me. One time when the homie came and said, "Hey, te va for tea." I asked him, "Hey, homie, just, I don't want to get on you guys' business. At the end of the day, if it's not brought up to me, I shouldn't even be asking. But nevertheless, every time I see you hit, that's your business, what you do, who you do it with. But I see conflict shortly after with the homies from the east side, and I have not pulled cartoon over. I have not pulled Chato. Well, the homies that were there from the east side that I was cool with to try to find out what happened. And he said there's just been a couple issues when it comes to individuals not coming through and paying, right? And the homies get riled up. But it's all good. I took care of it, or I take care of it, or something like that. So I left it alone, right, at that moment. And I was in YA with Chato from Little Valley. And me and that fool, we played around with each other a lot, right? And one day I tell him, like, hey, hey, fool, Benton, let's go take a lap. And he just told me, like, damn, Chino, I haven't done anything. And I just told him, man, just shut your mouth, fool. Like, I just want to cross something with you. And we took the lap, and I asked him. And basically, he started telling me that the homie, inside the block, there was certain individuals that owed money, good money, and they weren't paying him. The time would pass, and he would give them more time without adding, and they were taking him as a joke. And the camaradas from East Lowe's, they would get upset, you know. And I asked him why he didn't bring it to Negro, because that was Negro was the bloquero, right? And he said he didn't want to bring that type of negativity to the yard, right? And I told him, well, homie, I read the appeal that came straight from the senor he's working with, and I can't allow this to go on. I can respect that the homie didn't want to bring this type of chaos to the yard, but it's part of, you want to move Dulce, it's going to always come to this. There's always going to be one, two individuals that they want to sit on the money, or they want to just get high and just sit on pain. And, we can't allow that. And he shouldn't be allowing that. It's been already like 3 months of him hitting, and you're telling me it's every time because I see it from far away. I see how you guys get. So I know it's been going on for for a while. And imagine if Chato finds out that this was going on, who's he gonna go after? Oh yeah, he's gonna have homeboy's neck, but at the same time, he wrote a favor, a Willa, stating to assist him. Maybe not in the right ways, but everything turned out right, right in that sense. And it's my neck too, homie. You know, maybe Terco sticks up for me, maybe not. I will still be in Chato's S list, right? And anyways, I would end up telling the homie Chato from Little Valley, hey, tell homeboy, I need to holler at him to bring cartoon with them. And they will come. By that time, I will pull Negro right from the block. He had the block, and I would tell him like, "Hey, homie, I know what's going on. I know you say you're taking care of it. Please enlighten me on how you're taking care of it, right?" And he's basically saying it's just nothing big. It's like two, three individuals that get a papel, and then the money just don't get there. And I would end up paying it from out of my pocket. And how many times has it happened? And this fool Little from Pomona, from West Pomona, he had done it like 6 times. And of course, the question came out on why, homie. One time is enough, and they should be done, right? Part of selling is you knowing you're gonna buck up. And he says, "What do you mean?" Yeah, in this business, there's always losses. One of the biggest losses is you're pushing out work, and people are always going to try to take advantage of that and try to sit. When they do so, your responsibility is to grab your piece, run up in their cell, whack them, and collect your feria, either by blood or by whatever they have. You know, of course, you address, in this case, me, and I can't stop you, homie. That's just the rules of the games, right? They want to get high, they're going to pay. And I told him, you could literally put both of us in a cross. No, you could literally put more people in that. For example, Cartoon came and spoke up for you. Negro was a Bluquero. I had the Jardín. And, a lot of homies could get hurt behind this. And basically, they owed him over $1,000 just on papers, on 50 dollar papers, because the homie, he didn't know what he was doing. You know, he would allow them to do the tecato things and work him and work him and work him, and the homie would just let it go. And I guess he would bring it up when they were together as a whole and over there in the East Los car, and they would get upset. And to be sincere, I was upset at this time, like not at the homie because he was wet behind the ears, right? And I understood it at that moment when it come to moving work, but more so on the vatos that with the feria, because they knew the consequences. They just were taking advantage of a camarada. And to me, well, I'm not gonna say it's worse, but it just It's never okay with me, you know. You taking advantage of the kindness or the dumbness, however you want to say it, dispenser, if Smokey sees this of a person, right? Because he's trying to be humble and respectful and a camarada to you, and you're biting that hand that's being extended. And anyways, I would tell him, I would tell him like, look, homie, we're gonna deal with the situation, and I'm gonna come with you, and Chato's gonna come with me, and Cartoon's gonna come too, and we're gonna collect, you know. And I told him at this point, don't say nothing to the Pili, to Chato, right? Um, just we'll collect. You already paid it, it's your feria, regardless. So we would start trying to collect, and it was all bad. You know, for example, the individual from Pomona, what he owed was a lot of feria, and he tried to play that part with like, hey, I'll make sure the mail order gets sent, and nah, you don't got that wiggle room no more, homeboy. You know what you got in your cell? You got a TV, you got whatever, radio, kicks, cosmetics, whatever you have, homeboy, you're gonna come out, and that's gonna be the start. And he tried to play it off and be like, you just gotta wait on the mail, or you know, I didn't want to do it. Like I told him, all right, homeboy, I'm gonna give you 2 days for the mail, and you know that's part of holding it down too. You know, you have to be that scandalous individual. We would turn around, go away, and then I would tell the homie, say, whack him, remove him, he's no good no more. Now, sin palabra to T. And at the end, every individual that owed this homie would end up getting removed. And you know, I had no option but to tell Terco, you know, why they were gonna be landed in the shoe. And the whole cha-cha, right? I had to explain, and Terco, I guess, had a chit chat with Chato, and you know, basically, Terco told him, you know, like, why are you putting your material in a vato's hands that don't know how to move it around? Because it was Chato's work. I didn't know that, right? Till after, but the homie was just having his people bring it in, but it was Chato's work. He was the one sending the hale in, and Chato took it personally, you know, and basically he got a homeboy foul, real foul at first, right? For example, is foul. I'll just say, you know, I'll try to clean it up, like basically tell him, why are you on the yard representing me and being a punk, getting punked around, boy? You know, all this heat straight came down on the vato, you know, and he shouldn't have, but he did. He was mad because Terco told him so, right? And Terco did it trying to clear us away from the issue, right? And he didn't like that, you know. And I know Terco, he probably said it in a way that Chato took it like he was trying clowning him or something. I don't know. But Chato would get mad, real mad. And the chingadazo came without permission, right? Excuse my language. What I mean is, there was a homie there, big homie, also from Maravilla. And supposedly everything was squashed, right? And out of nowhere, also just starts booking the bato, starts booking him. And after this happened, of course, my responsibilities is to let T know. And when I got the reply back, he said, "Yeah, I know," and he was Chato's worker. And Chato says he's no good, so he's no good now. There ain't nothing we could do. So here's the inlet on this one. Here was a camarada trying to do everything correctly, coming out his pocket to make sure everything was paid in full. And at the end of the day, he had never wiggled material in the system. He didn't know what's up. He just wanted to do things and get them done right for the Pili. Where he was with Chato, he didn't get school. He didn't get Chato didn't give him the time to give him clecha, unless the homie is basically one of them that, hey homie, I want to do this. You think you could do it? Yeah, Simon, I know. So I'm trying to show off with his boca, right? And chewing more than what he knew what to do. But regardless, Chato should have gave him the guidelines. And I'm not gonna say it was sad because at the end of the day, I was more agüitado that all the individuals that had to get removed from the yard got removed by good homies, and they went back to the back. And they were lifers, but regardless, just because they're lifers and they're willing to do things, don't mean, hey, mess up their program and send them into the back just because someone's wet behind the ears, right? So I didn't disagree with Smokey getting removed to the fullest. What I disagree was the way things were handled from the gate. The homie didn't have no clecha, and Chato did not take a minute to give him clecha. Chato seen the opportunity is like, oh, this fool has the people to bring in material, is willing to bring in material for me and sell it. And oh, they quiso it, right? Make sure when you hit the yard, here's this, you're representing me now in the yard. And that's what happens. That's why I always say it's not good to serve one individual. The causa is a causa. It's always for the gente, but literally from the bottom to the top, it's always for the gente. We're for everyone. Even when you're a camarada, you're for every member, not just one. And it's funny how they're the ones that push that, oh, you're underneath me, you're only going to do things for me, and then turn around and make it a no-no afterwards. That's the end look. It's always good to say no or I don't know. Most importantly, if you're there, hey, can you enlighten me with some clecha about it? You know, don't let your mouth get the best of you and have you hit a brick wall, excuse me. With this said, I hope it was understandable. I send my love. Stay true to yourself and love to loved ones.